Hey guys, welcome to another video of the portfolio building series. Today we are going to be going ahead and doing a couple more maintenance sort of things. First of all, we are going to uh, change a little bit of the styling for this because as you can see there's white space over here. The footer is not exactly behaving as we want it to. The navbar isn't exactly behaving as we want it to. We're going to go ahead and make changes for those, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add a skills section. We're going to get started with the skills section. So without more chit chatting, let's get into coding. So first things first. So what we want to do is we want to get rid of this weird white space thing. So the way we do that is we go into the basic info section and we are going to add a height to this, which is 80% of the viewport that is available. We're going to do that, and this is how it will look. As you can see that the spacing between these two is looks very unnatural, so let's change that. So for that I'm going to make the spacing center, and then I'm going to go ahead and reduce the gap to 15 view height. This is much more manageable. The next thing we're going to do, as you can see, once we do that, the footer disappears. The footer, ideally I want the footer to always stick to the bottom. So we're going to add CSS to make sure that happens. So the way we do that is first we make the position sticky so that it sticks to the bottom. And the next thing we are going to do is we want it to stick to the bottommost point of the viewport. So we're going to do this, and as you can see, this is how it looks. Fancy, right? Okay. Now we want to do something similar to the navbar, because when you scroll, oh yeah, I think I already did that to the navbar. But I'm going to show you what it looks like if you were following me, and if you had not done this. So before we add a position sticky, to what it looks like is when you scroll, the navbar also disappears. We don't want that to happen. We want the navbar to be sticky as well, which is why we add this CSS to it. We just make the position sticky and we add the position, the exact coordinate where it needs to be sticky. And as you can see, only the basic info page becomes scrollable, which is the intent. I also want to go ahead and add a border bottom to the navbar to make sure there's a clear distinction between the navbar and the actual page. But I'm not going to go ahead and do it right now. I'm going to do it once we add the skills section, so that we have more visibility into what other pages look like, and then it becomes easier for us to add that. Okay, so let's get started. So let's go into the skills section. So this is what the skills section looks like, a very bad looking page. What it has is it's basically it has this is skills. We don't have a page ready for skills yet. We haven't integrated that. So this is what it looks like. This is skills, and there is nothing else. We're not calling the actual component. So what we'll do is we'll use the React templates and create the basic skills component, and we are going to of course test it to ensure that everything is working. So I'm going to write this is skills component, and I'm going to go ahead and include that in the skills section. So ideally you should see it change to this is skills component, and it does. So we have the skills component ready. So let's go ahead and style it to ensure that it is occupying a lot of the space. So first things first, we will have a basic outer container of the class skills. We want the display to be flex. We want it to be of a certain height. I like 80% of the viewport. The next thing we want is we want to align items to center, and I think this is it for now because we don't have anything else planned. So we're gonna go ahead and add this class name skills. I'm showing off my skills, guys. I'm surprised you guys are still here despite my attempt at bad humor. I mean, please don't go. But yeah, anyway, we have the skills section and there's nothing other than the height. Okay, what we want to do now is we also wanted to have some padding top. uh, we wanted to have some padding, and let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go into the skills.css. Actually, do we want it to be in the skills component? uh, okay, so the reason I'm not making whatever I'm doing in skills into a component is it might not be that reusable. uh, but as a practice, let's go ahead and make it as a component because we don't know how we want to extend their website. So tomorrow, if we want to use that sort of component anywhere else, I wouldn't want us to come ahead and come again and develop it. So I'm gonna remove this styling for now then. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm going to remove this, and I'm gonna go back to this is skills. Okay, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a component, and I'm going to name the component as I'm going to name the component as cards. I'm going to name the component as cards. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's create a new file. It's called a card.css, and we'll also have a card.js. Okay, so what the card will contain is I'm going to have multiple cards for the skills, and basically each of those cards will talk about one skill that I'd like to showcase. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we have the card, and then we need a card container. Actually, let's do that in the cards.js. So let's rename this because the container. I don't want to have separate components because we'll be going ahead and going too granular, which is not the intent. We need to have a component at a level that it is reusable, not at a level that it becomes too granular. If we do that, what we'll end up doing is we will just have containers at the very bottom level, which we don't want to do. So cards.js. So in cards.js, so we wanted to take props and change. So we're gonna make a template with props. I'm gonna remove this because we're not going to add any validation. And let's go ahead and say class name equal to cards. And so this will have so it will be based on a prop, and it will have multiple divs, and each div will have a card. Oops. And we're going to make this more reusable later on, but just for testing I want it to look like this. So I'm gonna say this is card 1 and this is card uh, card 2, right? So let's go ahead and see how this looks. And in skills, I'm going to import the cards. Okay. It's going to look card 1 and card 2 because we have not defined the right CSS for it. Let's go ahead and do that. So first things first, we're going to have a styling for cards, which is going to be a display flex. I'm going to add a height to it, which is going to be 100. Align items center, justify content center. Once I do that, ideally things should change, but we didn't import the CSS, so it won't change. So yeah, this is what it'll look like. So it's gonna be something like this, in which we will have two cards, and I'm gonna style the individual card locations and all of that, but it's gonna end up looking something like this. And I personally feel that this should be a white on and we add cards of different colors to it, but no, I'm actually gonna stick with the dark with the light in the front theme. Old habits die hard, guys. So let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, we need to change the color of the cards. And before we do that, as you can see, this footer is sort of, looking super weird. So let's go ahead and change that. Let's change that a little later. So the background is going to be the base color. Background is the base color, and the color of the font is going to be the primary font color. So do that. So voila, it looks much better, right? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to design the card, like how the cards are going to look. So I'm going to copy the CSS for the container of that, and I'm going to say that it will be an element of which I'd say I should be able to place like 3 cards. So I'd say probably let's do 20 view width. Okay. And the next thing we want is the height to be like I'd say 40. Now I'm gonna make these absolute for now. So 200 pixels and height is say 200 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Okay. And to better visualize it, I think we can leverage this. So this is what it's going to look. 200 by 200 is that. I want to be a little larger than that. So probably 250 by 350. This is what it's going to look like. Okay. Much better. And what we're going to do is we're going to align them. So internally the card 1 should come in the center, the card 2 should come in the center. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna do display flex, align items center, justify content center. So what this should do is this should make the card titles come in the center, which is exactly what we wanted. Next, let's go ahead and add a color to those. And the color will be a blue. I'm thinking blue, so let's see what that color is. So the footer, the background is this, the footer container, the color is, where did it go? Oh, gradient 1. So I'm going to make the background of these as gradient 1. Okay, and I am going to justify them to have space evenly. Okay, this is what it's gonna look like. Cool. Now we're gonna smoothen out the edges of these, and we are also going to add more cards. So to smoothen out the edges, we're gonna add a border radius. So let's add a border radius of say 10 pixels. Oops, does 10 pixels look good? Yep, I think 10 pixels looks good. So let's copy that and put it over. It's a single card, so we want that to be over here. And the next thing we would want it to have is we also want some sort of text to be here. So let's go ahead and add that text. Okay, this is what it looks like so far. Pretty cool, right? Okay, next let's add few more so that we know how it looks. I think 4 should be good for now. So I'm going to talk about 4 of my most important skills. So this is what it's going to look like. Okay, cool. So let's add some text in the beginning. So and for the text we can reuse some of this. So let's go ahead and do something like that. So let's go here and let's add another section. So we're gonna make this header div equal to it's a text container for the card. So this is sort of the header which will contain the header of it, and then we are going to have another div which contains the card. Oops. Card container, and I'm going to push these in. Okay, and this is what it will look like. So I think some CSS may be off. Yep, as I told you, CSS is going to be off. So what we have to do is we're going to style some of it. So card container should be a display flex, and it should have all of this. Okay, and this should be flex direction should be column instead of row, and the other thing that I want is the card container should have, so the card container does not have the right width, so and to fix that we have to add the width as 100%. Yep, so the card container should inherit its width from its parent. It should go 100% of its available width, and we're back to it looking cool. So here we're going to add a h2, which is going to be the highlight, and then we're going to say this is the highlight, and we're going to say and we're going to say here is the description. Okay, and we know that this has to be center aligned, and the spacing is a little off, right? So this is okay, we have justify content space evenly. So if I change that to center and add a gap of 15 view height, should be good. Okay, let's do this to the main cards. I'm going to remove this. Okay, and we need a, so card is inside the card container, so let's target it better. And the next thing we're going to do is we need a text container, which is also going to be a flex box. But its flex direction is going to be a column because we want the content one below the other. Okay, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, and in the text container we want the colors to vary, so we're going to make some color for h2, some for h1, and some for p. And we're going to copy those styles necessarily from the basic info. So as you can see, these are reusable. What we can do is we can add the same class names to them, but I generally don't like that preference because it removes the flexibility that I have, and I'll have to just go ahead and make these changes anyway. So I want them to be as independent and flexible as possible, but for now I want them to be same color, which is what I'm doing right now. So this is for the h2. Where is basic info.css? This is for the h1, and last but not the least, this is for the font. Okay, okay, and one more thing that we can think about is we can try changing the logo of changing this color. Let's try that and see how it is looks. So let's try this to gradient 2 and see what it looks like. Ooh, it's actually not bad. Let's stick to gradient 2 for now then. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to get all this information from the skills page, and let's see how that looks. So we are going back to the skills page, and oops, we don't need the CSS right now. Let me remove that. So we're gonna add props to the skills page, right? So let's add, uh, let's name it skills props is equal. So we are going to have a highlight, uh, card, uh, highlight. So cards highlight. Um, as but transcend the realms of just of technology. Transcend the realms of technology. Wow, I make myself sound like a. I make myself sound like a god man, but I'm not. Cards header. I believe that well, soft skills are just as important as well learned technical skills. Oh, actually, I'm gonna make this the description. And I am going to make the header as soft skills, and then I'm going to go ahead and add cards, and first one, so its name is going to be public speaking, mentoring, thought leadership, collaboration. With varied interests. Developer with varied interests. My skills transcend the realms of technology. Blah blah blah. Okay, so what we want this. So we want these to be passed as props to cards, and let's go ahead and use them in cards. So it's gonna be, what are the names? It's cards dot highlight, cards props dot highlight, cards highlight, cards header, cards description, cards, and each of them will have a name. So let's go ahead and use that. So I'm going to get a prop. So from the props, I'm going to take out the props dot cards highlight. I'm going to do props dot cards header, and I am going to do props dot cards description, and in the bottom, what we need is for every card we want this element to come. So let's see if this comes first. Okay. I think I need to define a max width to this, otherwise it's gonna grow endlessly. So let's fix that right away. Text container. So max width is, let's see what max width for this text container is. Text container max width is okay. Interesting. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's go ahead and remove this. Text align. Yep. Okay, we're gonna change the content for sure, but yeah, this is a work in progress. Let's go. Okay, and let's make the cards. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it should be it's not a primitive element, so it's derived. So you do props dot map. So I'm gonna okay, it's not props dot map, it's props dot cards dot map. So for each card, what we need is we will return an element, and that element will look something like this. So cards container, and this is what it will look like. And the name of that would, inside that it will be a card dot name, and that will be inside a cards container. And I'm gonna close the div right here, and I'm gonna remove all of this and this one. Okay, should work. Yep, as you can see, these skills are right here. So let's see if this is extensible. Let's see what happens if I add one more card. Let's go to my skills.js and let's add another skill. What else skill do I have? Mentoring, thought leadership, collaboration, and innovation. If we do that, ideally that card should get added without us having to go ahead and change the code. Right? Looks pretty sick, right? Awesome. So this is good. What we want to do next is we want to go ahead and style the cards even more. We're going to add cool looking icons for it so that we know what we're talking about. And I think possibly we'll also reduce the size of this one because it's just going to be an icon and a name for it. So we're going to do that. We're obviously going to change this content because this sounds super duper cheesy. Not that I'm not cheesy, but this is more cheesy for even my liking. And yeah, hopefully tomorrow we will finish the skills section. That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let me know in the comment section below. If you think that there are better ways in which I could be coding, or better ways in which I could be showing you guys how to code, please do let me know, because I'm always looking for ways to improve. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Oh my god, I've waited all my life to say that in an actual YouTube video. Thank you so much and have a good night.